Hello everyone and welcome to today's video. I am just going to jump right into it. What we're going to do is we're going to change the battery and the SSD drive on this A1502 model MacBook Pro. EMC number is 2835. The battery kit that I have, it's this one. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the link in the description down below so you can get this exact one. And it comes with the toolkit, and we're going to start with this blue screwdriver. Depending on what supply they have, maybe they might change the colors, I'm not sure, but we're going to get started by unscrewing all of these screws. So that's 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 screws. So let's go ahead and do that. Now, I will note that these two back screws right here are shorter than the rest. So you definitely want to put those shorter screws to the side so you don't, get confused and have to screw in a screw and then screw it back out. And it comes off just like that. All right. And so we have the SSD right here. Be careful not to touch any part of the board or computer with any metallic objects. I'm just using this to point above. The battery is right here. And this cell, out of all the batteries, the rest of the batteries are good, but this one is inflated a lot, like really bad. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and disconnect the battery first, and do that by just lifting this up. And folding it back just like that, so the battery is disconnected. So what we want to do next after disconnecting the battery, we want to take off this plate right here. So I'm going to use the green screwdriver or whatever color it may be. Definitely not the same screwdriver that we use to take off the back plate. This is a different one. All right, lift off the back plate like that. And what I like to do, just to make sure that this entire motherboard is drained, I like to fold up the computer carefully. And then you guys can't see my fingers, but what I'm doing right now, I'm pushing the power button and I'm kind of pressing it a couple times and holding it down. All right, let me see if I could get a side angle here. Yeah, so like at a 45-degree angle, let me bend that back so you can see it. The power button right here, I'm gonna go ahead and press that. Press it a couple times, make sure nothing comes on. Of course, the battery's disconnected, nothing's gonna come on, but it's gonna also drain the power from the entire motherboard. So now that we know there's no power flowing through the motherboard, now we can disconnect things without having to worry. So with that back plate off, we're going to go ahead and lift this ribbon cable up, and we're going to carefully lift it off of the battery because it's stuck on there with sticky tape. Right? And then what we'll also do, let me flip this around. And what we're also going to do is, let me flip this around here. Right. You'll see that there's a little black, I guess you could say, lever that you're going to just flip up. You could use your nail or you could use a piece of plastic. Try not to use metal to do this. And once it's flipped up, you can go ahead and pull that ribbon cable out. And so yeah, on the back of this ribbon, there's some sticky tape, as I mentioned before. So just be careful with that. It might be hard to slide out, but that's probably because of the sticky tape. Which you could always buy this cable again if you damage it, but obviously you don't want to do that. And just put it to the side. All right, so now we pretty much have the battery. Oh, first we have to also remove these speakers, guys. Right, so let's go ahead and do that, because what we're gonna need to do is you're gonna get a card like this. You know, it's a plastic card. I don't know where you can get these. Maybe you can use a old Courtyard Marriott card that's plastic or something similar. Maybe an old debit card. But you want it to be flat. You don't want kind of any lettering protruding, because that's just going to make it harder, right? But I have this from another kit that I had bought before. So you go ahead and flip it around. So yeah, let's go ahead and take off these screws for the speaker. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 screws. And when we remove the speaker, right, we're not going to have to really like take them out. Like, you don't want to yank them out. You're going to kind of want to fold the speakers back, because you just need room to get this battery out. That's it. So let's do that. And the way that I'm organizing my screws, I'm being very meticulous. I'm setting the screws down in a way that I can remember what goes where. All right, so the screws for the speakers are out, and as you can see, you could just pretty much, you know, use a tool, a plastic tool. Try to only use plastic around here, because you don't want to puncture the battery. If you were to accidentally slip and puncture this, it could cause a fire, and it could be a total catastrophe, right? So use your nail. I'm using my nails to just lift under here and pick up the speaker like that, right? So this speaker right here, you can actually disconnect it. It's not that hard. The ribbon is underneath this little metallic screw hole right here. So you can lift it up and over, and then just like this, there's a little sticky tape under it, but don't worry, just be gentle, right? And then you can just pop it off like that, and it comes off rather smoothly. So that one's out the way. Now for the other speaker, same thing, lift it up. Now this speaker is a little more complicated. As you can see, there's a wire that runs all the way around to here. So this speaker, I actually just set it back just like that. You don't have to do anything else. And so now what we're ready to do is we're ready to start sliding this card underneath the battery. We want to start from the sides, and then eventually we want to very carefully do it from these sides here. I actually try to go from the side as much as possible. I try to avoid this area where the circuit board is, because you can damage the circuit board. So I try my best not to. It's not that easy, but you know, you just gotta do what you gotta do. And so underneath this part of the battery is the mouse. So you gotta be careful. What I like to do to make this job a lot easier, because I could just use the card, but it would take forever, there's actually a special sticky tape removal liquid that you can use. So I'm gonna go ahead and use that, and I'm gonna show that to you in just a second. All right, everyone, so this is the liquid. It's by Newer Tech. I'm guessing I got this in a kit by Newer. I'm not sure. It says it on there, adhesive remover. I don't know if you could see that, right? Adhesive remover. And it also came with a syringe here, just like this. And when you fill it up, what you want to do is you want to fill it up and do each side a little bit, right? Probably around the back side here and here, maybe some in the front, right? And for each side, you probably want to fill it up to about, I'd say 1 ml right there. You don't want to put too much in here, or maybe even a little bit less. Maybe, half of an ml, 0.5. So anyway, let me show you how I do that part. And you don't want to inhale this too much. It's, smells a little bit like nail polish remover, though I'm not sure if it is, so don't try to use nail polish remover. And this adhesive remover did not come in the kit that I ordered because I already had it, but I will try to see if I can find another kit on Amazon that I can put the link to, where you can get the battery plus the adhesive remover, or maybe you can order them separately or something like that. So I don't know if you can see, right? I don't think you can see that, but that's to where about I have it filled up and there's like a little air bubble in there. So it's not entirely, but just enough. And I'm going to go ahead and start doing it little by little. I'll even put some in between here. There's a little gap. Right. So that should be enough so far. And I'm just going to let it sit for a little bit. I'm probably going to do this whole thing on camera and show you guys how it's done. I was thinking of just doing one side, but nah. This whole middle piece, this is the challenging part, is this middle piece here. So that's what we want to get removed. And there are no screws under these rubber stops, just so you know. No screws, so you don't have to worry about that. It actually lifts off. You just can't see it, but it does. So with the adhesive remover set in a little bit, I'm going to start to try to work my way with this card. And as you can see, it's already lifting off. It's rather easy. We already got the first battery off, just like that. Now we're going for the second battery. It just straight eats through that adhesive really good. Trying to keep this in frame as best I can, guys, for you to see it while I wrestle it off like that. As you can see, it just lifts off. Boom, we got this side up. And it would not have been this easy without the adhesive remover. Let me just say that. The adhesive remover makes a big difference. Because I'll show you, like if I try to stick this part under with the card, I can't even, it's not even budging. It's like literally stuck. And stuck in a way where it's really hard. So I've seen people do it without the adhesive remover, but I would rather use the adhesive remover any time of day. I might actually have to order more soon because this bottle is almost out. Alright, so we're going to do the same thing. We're going to put some adhesive remover here at the side. We're going to put some down the middle of this gap here. We're going to go from the front. go from the back here. Right. And you don't have to worry as much about the adhesive remover leaking on into the middle part, because there's actually like a little ridge, a metallic ridge, that keeps all the liquid in this area and this area. But still, you don't want to put too much, right? So we did that. We're letting it sit for a while. And let's see. Okay. See, once we have this battery piece up, I don't even think we can slide the card in. It's been a while since I did this model. Well, not too long, but almost every time is like a new time for this particular model. But yeah, I don't think we can get the card in from the side there. We will try though, I will say that. This plastic actually lifts up. Alright, so that's sat for about a minute or two or more. So now I'm going to go ahead and work this card underneath. As you can see, it just slides under and pops right up. Let me actually rotate this to make it a lot easier. This battery is scary. I hate puffy batteries, and this one is like inflated to the point where you can't even like press it down a little bit. It's like it wants to pop, which is just scary. Okay, so both sides are done and ready to be lifted out. Now we just have to do the middle part. So let's see, how am I gonna do this here? It's rather difficult, guys. It is not easy. This is not an easy task by any means. So I would have to say you definitely have to be a professional or high intermediate with experience to pull this off. I would not attempt this if you're a beginner, because you might get frustrated. You might just tear something out that you don't really want to tear out. And none of this film can be torn, so don't try to rip it out of here. That's a big no-no. If you do that and you make it, consider yourself lucky. All right, so I'm gonna just pour some liquid here. Along the middle. Hopefully it gets down there. All right. I'm just gonna put a little bit. Well, let me just check something real quick, guys. 1 second. Alright, so yeah, I had put a little bit of the adhesive remover down the middle. I'm also gonna come from the back here. I'm doing this very sparingly, guys. I don't want to put too much back here. And I definitely don't want to get any on this circuit. putting a little bit at the sides here. The good thing about the adhesive remover is that it does evaporate. I'm going to be very careful. I'm going to put a little bit in the front here. I don't want it draining and leaking below the metal panel. There's like a little metal protective panel there, but there are some gaps. I'm being very careful, guys. And yeah, let me just go ahead and put more down the middle here. I'm letting it set and sit. Let me go ahead and empty the rest of the syringe into the bottle. And yeah, let it set for a little bit. I can feel under the battery here, it's already fully evaporated. And that's why you want to disconnect the battery. If any of this liquid gets on any part of the electronic, it might not be that bad. You know, if it's by accident and it dries up completely because it evaporates so fast. But if it were wet, you'd probably be in a lot of trouble. So we're just letting it sit for about a minute more. I think we're pretty much good to go. I can see it already starting to evaporate. And it's just wet a little bit. That should be enough to eat up the adhesive. So I'm going to try to move in from the side. This is so difficult. Actually, let me try from the back first. And that's where I end up having to bend this card. Let me do it from this angle. You might have to get creative with the angles that you're going to come in. But be very careful. Oh, this is so hard. Let me see. This is difficult. I'm not going to lie. Oh, there's a screw right here, guys. We can go ahead and remove this screw. Let's use the green screwdriver. Oh, so there's a screw right here, guys, that we've got to take off, right? So let's use the green screwdriver or whatever color it is. The right one that fits. We're going to remove that. And so now this actually lifts up this entire plastic piece. And yeah. So this little plastic brace that surrounds the battery that actually is a part of it, it sticks down pretty good. Peel back the speaker wire because it's actually attached to the plastic brace. So now it's completely detached. It only attaches itself up to this curving point. So once you remove it, now the plastic brace should be a lot freer to where you can slide the card underneath, just like that. All right, so let's see how we're gonna do this here. We can actually come in from the side, but this part is in the way. I'm telling you, it's been a while since I've done this particular model and done this, but let's try it. Yeah, that's not gonna be long enough. I actually have another flexible card here. Let's try that one. Actually, I don't like this card. It has some plastic jagged edges to it. So I'm gonna go back to this white card. So I actually have the white card. I had cut it in half. so that way it's a lot more flexible. I also have another one with a couple of the ends bent. You know, this is what it takes to do this type of job, guys. So if you're planning on doing it, just know you're gonna have to get creative. You're gonna have to be careful. All right, this is actually getting some progress there. Slow progress. It's gonna take a lot of work to get this one out. The way these batteries bend, they fold, they bend upwards this way. You don't want to try to bend this side up like that. You want to bend this side up like that. And as you can see, I'm rotating it. I'm trying it at all different angles. Alright, I got that one in. And then I'm just going to work my way down until I do the same thing. As you can see, there's some adhesive coming off on the tip of this card, so you're probably going to have to clean the card a couple times. Yeah, this one is a job and a half. Be careful with your finger on this circuit. Now I'm gonna rotate. So I already know I got a good portion of this battery lifted a little bit. So I'm gonna do the same thing to the other side. Oh, shh. All right. Go ahead and move this battery over a little bit. Incredibly tough, guys. Like I said, this one is not easy by any means. Let's try to actually lift this up. The good thing is once you do get the battery out, it's easy to put the other battery in, and it's also easy to, you know, remove the new battery that you put in and put it in and out. It's really when you have this original Apple adhesive in here that it'll ever be the hardest to remove. Being very careful. Alright. So now there's like a nice little gap under here. Let's try to come in from the angle over here. No matter how you try to do this, it's very difficult, guys. So I'm gonna actually try to use a little bit more adhesive remover. Not that much. Because I did manage to get a nice little gap in here going. And really it just boils down to making smart decisions, guys, because you could easily break something. I'll be real with you. So I'm gonna put a little bit starting here and see how much progress we can just make starting in this little area. Meanwhile, while we wait on that, I'm gonna try to get what I can achieved over here. Right. Managing to see progress. right. Awesome. So now we've got another little gap forming on this other cell on this side. As you can see, I can now push the card down, which is good. Alright, I'm going to attempt to try to lift this cell out. You might have to lift that battery up again. And you got to be careful. You might have to go in a little bit. Now that the other opposite end is free, you got to be careful. It all boils down to smart decisions, guys. And I could be making a dumb decision right now and not even realizing it. I'm avoiding this card touching the circuit by all means. And so it feels like I did get it loose. So I'm going to start to lift this battery out. I'm going to be very careful with how I do this. As you can see, it's lifting out. I'm going to loosen up this side again. And there it is, guys. We managed to get the entire battery out. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this old battery in the case of the new battery. So just so you can see, this is the old battery. It's all puffed up. It's really scary. Can't emphasize that enough. Puncture that or mishandle it, you will have a fire. Okay, so now you can see that there's some adhesive left over. So I'm gonna go ahead and start removing that. It should be rather easy, but you know, just take your time and get it done. And as you can see, guys, that there is a metal plate here that protects the mouse pad, which is right underneath. So you want to be careful when dealing with everything. You don't want to stick something under the metal plate or get liquid under the metal plate. So that's why I never put liquid like from the sides here. I tried to go from the top end around the battery. I did get kind of close here. Hopefully no liquid leaked underneath. But I've been doing this for a while, so I was real careful. And of course, the amount of time that it takes to take off this adhesive, it works out, because if there is any liquid left over, it's evaporating, it's drying up. So you don't need to rush this, just take your time. Try not to use a razor blade to do this, guys, because you'll end up just scratching this. If you have nails, luckily right now my nails are kind of long, so I'm just using my nails to do this. which your nails are actually perfect for doing this. But if you don't have your nails long, I would say try to use the card or another plastic. See how you can remove it with the card? Honestly, this little piece of card came in super handy. Once you get it up like that a little bit, you could just grab it. You don't even need your nails. Just lift up like that. And so the adhesive is completely removed. There is a little bit of residue, but don't worry about that. I would just say let this computer sit for a little bit and let it just dry up anything that's left behind. So what we can also do while we're waiting is we can actually change this SSD at the same time. Well, I'm just gonna let this sit for about 5-10 minutes, guys, and then I'll be right back. I'm gonna cut the video, and then when we return, we'll move on to the next step. All right, guys, so here we are back again to put in the new battery. And so I basically went and did something for about a couple hours and now came back. I just wanted to make sure there was no leftover liquid. You know, if you're 100% sure, you don't have to wait that long. I really could have just left for like 30 minutes and came back, but I went ahead and went to go do something, and now I'm back. And so everything seems ready to go. And what I'm gonna do here is, as you can see, there are two sides to this battery. So the blue side has all the new adhesive, and the other side is supposed to be face up, and it's gonna go in just like this. Some of these things might not spread apart until we take off the film. So there is a film on the side that goes face up. That's pretty much to kind of keep everything uniformed as you put it in. All right, so let's make sure that the speaker is out the way. Yeah, I'll probably slide it in from this side first. As you can see, I just did it like that. Just making sure it's gonna fit in here nice and easy. I'm not gonna have to fight it too much. And yeah, and so you can see it kind of shifts left and right. You want to shift it over and make sure that this plug is going to line up perfectly, right? So, you know, that's the other tricky part about this, is making sure that this thing lines up properly with the socket, because once you put it in here with the new adhesive, it is going to be quite difficult to move. So I'm going to go ahead and peel off the blue side, which is going to reveal all the adhesive, and I am going to go ahead and go for it. I'm going to slide in that side first, make sure that we're slid over as far to the right as possible, because that's how it looks like this plug is going to be aligned. I'm actually going to try to plug in this plug first before I completely set it down. So there we go. The plug is inserted. So I'm going to go ahead and push down on the battery, push it in place. I'm going to take off the clear adhesive so that way I can kind of move the battery around a little better. Right. So with the plug in there, now I'm just pushing the battery down firmly in place, making sure that the plastic guide frame is in properly. It's not protruding out in any way. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and disconnect the battery from the port again. All right. So now that it's in there, I'm gonna go ahead and open this up while it's disconnected again and push the power button. It's actually on this side. So I'm just pushing the power button again like we did in the beginning to make sure that no charge from the new battery transferred over to the board. And we should be good to go there. Alright, so with the battery still disconnected, now we're going to begin to put everything back in place. And then we're going to test out the laptop before we actually change the SSD. And when we change the SSD, we're going to disconnect the battery again. Right? So let's go ahead and proceed, shall we? So I'm going to start with the speaker. We're going to just do everything that we did in the beginning backwards. And yeah, guys. Start with this screw. I think I'm supposed to use the other one. So yeah, the other screwdriver was slipping, so I had to reach for the other one. And I'm just screwing everything back into place. Alright, it's nice and snug in there. Now I'm getting the speaker that we disconnected, putting that one, making sure that that little part of the ribbon goes underneath the metal screw hole, and just connecting the speaker. Being very careful with all these parts. All right. Things looking good here. Just making sure the battery's nice and pressed down. It's perfectly in position. The speakers are in. And so now we're going to put back our ribbon cable. We're going to be careful doing this every step of the way. You want to deal with these ribbon cables real delicately. There's a little bit of adhesive right under there. I don't like it. It's going to make it hard to slide this ribbon cable in, so I'm kind of pushing it back a little bit. You got to kind of come in at an upward angle. Yeah, I'm going to have to remove this adhesive. You guys might not be able to see it, but there is some adhesive here that's being a little bit difficult. I don't remember this adhesive being here last time, but it's here now, and it's being a little difficult. Alright, I was able to peel it back. So let's try to put in this ribbon cable again. I want to make sure that it's firmly in there. And if the battery was still connected and you tried to do this, I messed up one time in the past where I did cross the ribbon. I put the ribbon in at an angle and it caused some of the pins to short. So that's why you really want to disconnect this battery before doing this, guys. Because there are just all types of awkward things that can short out if you don't do it properly. Let alone just worrying about touching something on the board. Putting in these ribbons can sometimes be challenging. Okay, so I'm gonna say, yeah, that's in all the way. I don't know if you guys can see that, but it's pretty much lined up perfectly. And you could tell that it's in right. You know, if you see it at an angle, just make sure that you take away any of those abnormalities. Okay, now we're just going to connect this cable on this end right here. Right. And that's after we connect this part and this part at the other end, both ends, then we're going to push down in the middle and kind of make it stick how it used to stick to the other battery. All right. All right. And then we're going to come with this ribbon cover, this little cover right here. It's not just a cover, it's also meant to hold down these ribbon cables so they don't just pop up out of place. All right. And here we are. So after we connect the battery, we're going to test out everything. I'm going to test out the mouse to make sure we didn't damage the mouse, because that's always a possibility. We're going to make sure everything works properly. Test out the sound, the Wi-Fi. All right, now that that's screwed in, we don't have to fully screw the bottom plate on. Wow, almost forgot to connect the battery there again. So let's go ahead and connect this battery back to the port. All right, battery's back in the port. Oh, and that screw that we removed right here on the side, we want to also put that screw back, which holds the battery in place. And this is an aftermarket battery. I'm not sure if Apple still sells batteries for this model to the public, but it was a 5-star rated battery on Amazon. So I know on the much newer laptops, you can get some OEM parts from Apple, as well as some do-it-yourself kits and tools and stuff like that. But for this, I believe this is a 2015 model. I don't think so. All right, so now that everything is in place, the battery's connected finally with everything else connected, we're gonna put this back plate on. I'm just gonna put 2 screws in place just to be safe. All right. I'm gonna put a screw at each opposite angle. So one in this corner and then one in this corner here. I already did the one in that corner. And I'm gonna do this one. And we're gonna flip it over. All right, and so now we're gonna go ahead and hit the power button. Battery should have some charge in it. Let's see if we hear it turn on. You might have to hit it twice. Well, let's hook up the charger since we're not getting any action. Let's see what's up with this. All right, it's indicating that it's charging, so I'm gonna hit the power. All right, so it made the chime. And yeah, I'm gonna pull this forward a little bit so you can see that it's actually booting up. All right. And so yeah, I am testing the mouse pad. As you can see, the mouse is moving. I'm gonna click it. The clicker is working. So that's all I need to do from here. I'm actually gonna put the SSD in now and wipe out the whole system. So let's go ahead. And it says it's at 49%, the battery. So if I disconnect the charger, oh, well, that's not a good sign. It just died. Well, let's try that again. Maybe I need to charge it for a while. I think that's what I'm gonna do, guys. I'm gonna just let it charge. Right now it's like 12 a.m. or 11:30 p.m. and so when I go to sleep, I'm just gonna let this battery charge. So yeah, guys, let me just shut it down, even though that doesn't really matter. And I'm gonna disconnect the charger. The good thing is if this battery, for whatever reason, there's something faulty with it, it'll be way easier to remove now that we don't have the OEM adhesive sticking the original battery down. So yeah, I'm just gonna proceed to the next step and replace the SSD. So yeah, guys, so all right, everyone, so let's go ahead and undo what we did. We're gonna take off the screws that we had put on. All right, and first thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna lift up the battery. That was very weird that it just died like that, but it probably just needs to charge. And so we're gonna lift up again. We're gonna open up the laptop. We're gonna go ahead and hit the power button. Make sure we drain all that power out of the computer. Press it, hold it down a couple times. And then yeah, we should be good to go. All right, guys and gals. All right, so let's go ahead and remove the screw that's holding down the SSD. Also, you want to touch the metal frame. You don't just want to touch the electronics right away. You want to ground yourself, get rid of any static electricity. And then start to remove the SSD by unscrewing this black screw here. And I am going to get the kit. So the SSD that I'm using is the Samsung 980. This is a 500 gig. It's what the customer requested. And it's an M.2. if you notice, it says M.2 there, which isn't the native slot that it's gonna just slide into. So I had to order an adapter, right? So this will convert the M.2 to be compatible with this slot. And I'll leave the link in the description down below. So yes, you will have links for everything. This particular adapter also comes with the black screw that would hold down the SSD, which is good. I've seen some laptops that, you know, whoever repaired their laptop or did whatever to it, they would forget to put the screw back. So having an adapter that comes with the screw is very handy. And so I'm going to go ahead and just slide this SSD out. I'm just going to wiggle it a little bit and see it just comes out easy, just like that. And we're going to go ahead and open up this box here. All right. And I just like grounding myself a lot. And we're going to take out this SSD, the M.2. And what we're going to do is we're going to slide it in here. It could only go in one way. You can see there's a little notch right there. That same notch, there's a little plastic piece. So if you try to put it in this way, it's not even going to let you push it in there. So we're just going to put it in the right way it goes, just like that. And then we're going to go ahead and wiggle it into place till it goes in that slot. Just like that, guys. All right. And put the screw back so that it holds it in place. Do not try to, you know, do it, the programming or putting back the laptop together without that screw. Because if this SSD comes out at an angle, it can short out the slot and then you would need a whole new motherboard. So make sure you do everything right. All right, so now with the SSD in place, we're gonna go ahead, reconnect this battery. All right, battery's back in place. The connector is nice and snug. And we're gonna go ahead and do the same thing again. I usually use the SSD 970, but I just went ahead with the 980 this time. So I'm not gonna put all the screws back. I actually wanna make sure that this works properly. I like to confirm that everything is good before throwing it all back together. So one screw in this corner and another screw in this corner here. All right, so let's go ahead, flip it back over. Obviously, we're gonna need the charger connected to it. All right. And so let me get the operating system that I'm gonna reprogram it with. All right, guys, so when you turn it on with a blank SSD, you're gonna see a folder with a question mark, which means that there's nothing on the drive. Or if you have a bad hard drive, you'll also get this folder with the question mark. So I'm gonna go ahead. I already have a pre-made operating system on this. I'm gonna go ahead and plug it in. I believe it's Big Sur, if I'm not mistaken. And so as soon as I plug in the USB, you can see it's already booting up to the operating system. And when you see an Apple logo, that means it's accepting the operating system that you're choosing to put on it. If it you know, if it was a new operating system like Ventura, which this computer, I'm sure it's not compatible with. You know, I could be wrong, but you would actually see a circle, you know, with a cross going down the side, you know, like a no smoking symbol, I guess you could call it. But yeah, we're just gonna go ahead and let that boot up. All right, so I'm gonna pull the computer forward even more so you can see what I'm doing on the screen. All right, guys. I hope you can see that. Yeah. So this is actually Monterey. It's not Big Sur. I apologize. But anyways, so what we're going to do is we're going to go with the mouse and go down to disk utility so we can see if the computer actually picked up the disk, which as you can see, it did. It says Samsung SSD 980 right there. And it's under internal. So your external will be your USB or any USBs connected. So we're gonna go ahead and go over to the Samsung, select it. We're gonna hit erase and we can just say, you know, main HD. And if you need a clearer video of the screen, if this isn't clear enough for you guys, you can, you know, find another video. I should make another video soon, how to do this, but yeah, this should be good enough for now. And after you select the drive and hit erase and give it a name, or give it a name, then hit erase, it's going to go ahead and format it for you. So now you'll see it no longer reads Samsung 980, it reads main HD, which is the name that I gave it. And so we can go ahead to the X in the upper left and X off disk utility. And we could go to install macOS Monterey and hit continue. All right, and then hit continue again. And hit agree. And select the main HD and hit continue again. And so it's going to probably say it's going to take 20-30 minutes. It might even take 45 minutes. Who knows? Just let it do its thing. And yeah, guys, I will be back as soon as this part completes. Alright guys, so as you can see, the operating system loaded, and I'm going to go ahead and hit continue. And I'm just going to select not now. Now, depending on the operating system, these options might be different, but just, you know, read and go along and choose what options are for you. I'm going to select not now. I'm basically selecting not now for a lot of things just so I can get to the desktop. And yeah, guys, here is where you will give the computer a name and a password. And yeah, and then it'll take you to the desktop. Maybe a few steps after, but we're pretty much done with this battery replacement and SSD upgrade. I'm gonna go ahead and let the charger sit overnight and just let this computer charge as much as it can. and then test out the battery in the morning. So yeah guys, in the morning I will go ahead and record that segment for you guys just to see the outcome, whether the battery's holding charge or not. It should. I know a lot of these batteries that you get off Amazon, they do recommend that you charge it for a full, 12 to 24 hours. And yeah guys, so I'm gonna go ahead and let you go for now and then check back in a little bit. And here we are everyone, it's morning time. I allowed this battery to charge to 100% overnight. It's been about 12 hours. It might reach to 100% in a little less time than that. But anyways, let me go ahead and disconnect the charger. And as you can see, it's holding a full charge. Unlike yesterday when we had just initially installed the battery, it would shut off. So you definitely have to go through this process. And yeah, that concludes this video for the A1502 battery replacement and SSD replacement. If you found this video useful, smash the subscribe, hit the like, hit the share, and until next time.